this, on the surface, should be a really easy question to answer, because for me, just being in nature is inspiration in itself. It's a chilly November morning, but I'm sat in the woods, and so far this morning we've seen a fox, I've heard a woodpecker, I think I've heard the call of a buzzard. Just being surrounded by nature, for me, on a personal level, is inspiration. There's a Japanese practice called Shinrin-yoku, which is usually translated as forest bathing, and it simply is the practice of going and spending time in natural spaces with no goal, with no purpose. You can apply a purpose to it, you can certainly apply mindfulness practices and things like that to it, but the idea is that if you just spend time in nature in itself is an inspiration. So for me, as someone that has the opportunity, those woodpeckers just gone off in the distance there, for me, the opportunity to spend time working outside in a natural environment, I don't need an inspiration to do it. That's the inspiration in itself. I think if I was to look at something specific that inspires me to spend time in nature, I started wildlife tracking about 25 years ago, thereabouts. My first introduction to it was much longer ago, when my grandparents pointed out a badger track, and I think something clicked in my mind then that, you know, I couldn't see the badger, and I hadn't even seen a badger at that point in the wild. But here was an indicator that was something had passed this way, some wildlife had passed this way. And I think I was probably only 7 or 8 years old at the time, and it clicked that there's stuff that's going on in our natural world that we don't know about unless we know how to read the signs for it. And I'm inspired to find out more and more. So every time I come out here, as we walked into here this morning, my eyes were on the ground looking for tracks, looking at what's changing as we move now from autumn into winter. And it's just such a dynamic, diverse environment that it's continuously inspiring. And just looking around this clearing now, there's so many things that are fascinating indicators of change in this environment that I don't think I need any more inspiration to do this work than just the opportunity to spend a significant amount of my time working in this sort of environment, or developing this sort of environment. It's inspiration enough in itself. I think WildZen Solutions offers several opportunities to engage with communities and engage communities with their local environments. I think at the first stage we offer our community landscaping services at a significantly lower cost for those communities. If we're working with registered charities, we are almost doing that work at cost price, or potentially offering that time to those communities as part of our corporate social responsibility requirements and desires as well. We want to do that work with communities. So when we do that, whether it's just offering our services as licensed machinery operators for things like chainsaws and brush cutters to communities that might not have that availability for them to do landscaping work, whether we can do some training with them while we're doing landscaping work with them, and get kids or whatever involved in planting trees and connecting with that environment, it gives us opportunities to get those communities more engaged with the natural world. On the other side of things, on the training side of things, the nature awareness training that I've developed is, it's entirely targeted at small groups, small local communities, giving them the opportunity to understand what's actually happening in their local wild spaces, whether it's a woodland like this, whether it's a meadowland, and there's quite a few nice areas of meadowland and heathland around here, and getting people out into that environment, giving them the opportunity to engage with that. So it's I think we have a real opportunity at WildZen across several elements of the way we do business to engage our communities in their natural spaces, and I think there's no negative side to doing that. I think as our communities understand their local spaces better, they value them more, and when they value them more, they're more invested in how they look after them and how, as a community, as a wider community, we look after them. So the community, if we can get the local community deeply invested in this woodland, they're going to be more likely to put the right pressure onto their local authorities to make sure this is managed and maintained to the standards that it should be maintained. So for anyone, whether it's an individual, whether it's a community, whether it's a commercial venture, if you want to get more environmentally focused, start with the big things. So start with how much energy you're using and see if you can reduce your energy usage. It's not easy to do that, especially when you're thinking about heating. It's November and it's Britain, so it's going to start to get cold over the next few months. It's going to be very cold, but there are other areas. Simple things. Don't fill your kettle. Just put enough water in there for what you need when you're heating your kettle. Turn off lights. Make sure doors are closed to reduce heat loss. Make sure windows are closed as much as you can. Not every property in Britain will allow you to do that because of how humid our environment is. But try and reduce your energy losses, your energy usage. Try and recycle a lot more. Get these big things in place, and the smaller things like your carbon footprint, they will fall into place almost naturally afterwards. Reduce your food miles is a good one. Certainly there are, even in an urban area like Coventry, there are really good farm shops around who draw in produce from local areas. It might be a little bit more expensive, but you're getting generally better quality food, and it hasn't been imported from thousands of miles away. You've reduced the carbon cost of your food. So get those big things right, and the little things will fall into place. The other side of things is, and I think this is absolutely vital, is don't worry about getting everything right. Do as much as you can. Do what you can. As I've already said, the more people we have focusing on the environment, focusing on sustainability, even if they can't get everything perfect, is going to have a huge impact compared to having a handful of people or a handful of businesses and organisations kind of getting everything right. So don't worry about getting everything perfect. If you are moving towards getting better environmental management practices, getting better sustainable practices in place, you're already on the right track. So the rest will come when it comes, when you have the ability and you have the capability to do that. So focus on the big things and don't worry about getting it perfect. That's my two key takeaways for anyone trying to get an environmental focus. The simple answer is get in touch with us, either phone, website. We're available on Instagram. Get in touch with us. Have a look at our services on our website. But if you don't find something on there that you think is going to solve your problem, get in touch with us. We are committed to a flexible approach. We're committed to finding out what your needs as a company are. We're committed to looking at what your needs as a residential client are and adapting what we can do to match your needs. It's entirely a unique situation that you have, and we will find a unique solution to those problems for you. So if you are looking for an environmental management strategy, or if you're looking for a small wild space in your garden, get in touch and we will work with you to develop that solution that suits your needs.